On a brisk, gray afternoon in the heart of the city, a young black man named Malcolm Hayes sat quietly at a worn bus stop nestled between a shuttered bookstore and a sterile chain cafe that smelled more like cardboard than roasted beans. The corner of Jefferson and Brain was a place people passed without noticing. Just another unremarkable patch of concrete in a city overflowing with them. Malcolm, maybe 23 at most, hunched into his threadbare hoodie, knees pulled to his chest, eyes half-lidded. He wasn't asleep, not really just resting, the way you do when sleep is a luxury and rest is rationed. The world moved around him. Teenagers laughed and pointed, someone muttered about the smell, and the breeze carried their words like dead leaves. He didn't flinch. But his ears never stopped listening to the hiss of bus brakes, to impatient footsteps, to the occasional kindness of a stranger's dropped coin. And then she appeared. Brooke Landon, dressed in a perfectly tailored camel coat, heels clacking against the wet concrete, her grocery tote nestled in the crook of one arm while she scrolled through her phone with the other. She looked out of place here, like a painting hung on the wrong wall. Her world was Whole Foods and boardrooms, not cracked sidewalks and flickering lamplight. She walked past the bus stop with purpose until she didn't. One stuttered breath, then another. Her fingers curled toward her chest as her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the sidewalk. Her knees buckled. Cans of soup spilled into the gutter. The mesh of her tote turned dark with leaking almond milk. And Brooke's world began to close in. No one moved. One couple turned and crossed the street. A man in a designer coat slowed but didn't stop. Malcolm sat up. He saw it instantly, the signs of an angina episode, the panic buried in her eyes, her lips pale, her breathing shallow and irregular. He hesitated for just a second. People like him didn't usually run to the rescue. Not because they couldn't, because they weren't trusted to. But then she gasped again, a whisper more than a breath. That was enough. "Ma'am," Malcolm said, kneeling beside her. She barely focused on him. He took her wrist. Pulse racing. Chest pain. Cold, clammy skin. "Do you have nitroglycerin?" "For your heart." Her mouth moved. No words came. She coughed and shook her head. "In the car." "I forgot." Malcolm didn't wait. He reached into his hoodie and pulled out a small, crumpled wad of bills, $7 and some change. It was dinner money, maybe more if stretched. But now it had one job. He took off. Through the street, ignoring honks, shouts, the burn in his legs. He knew there was a pharmacy 3 blocks away. And time was ticking. The bell above the door rang like a gunshot in the quiet store. The pharmacist behind the counter barely looked up. "I need nitroglycerin," Malcolm said, breathless. The man squinted. "You okay?" "Not for me." Woman collapsed outside. "Angina. She needs a dose now. Please. Just one." The pharmacist didn't move. "Are you family? You got ID?" Malcolm shook his head. "I studied this. I was in pharmacy school. 2 years. I know what I'm asking. I'm not lying. Please." The man hesitated. Then, with a sigh, he unlocked a cabinet and slid over a single tablet in a small white envelope. "You didn't get this from me." Malcolm nodded. "She won't die from you." Back through the streets, legs screaming, lungs burning, and finally I saw her. Brooke was still there, slumped beside the bus stop, her breath shallow. Still no help. People had gathered, but no one knelt. He dropped beside her, tore open the packet, and gently lifted her head. "Stay with me. Just breathe." The tablet went under her tongue. "You're going to be okay. Just let it dissolve." He watched her, counted her breaths, held steady. And then she blinked. The color crept back into her face. She looked at him. "You came back." Malcolm smiled faintly. "Of course." By then, others began to help. Someone called 911. A security guard showed up. But it had already happened. The most important moment. The one that mattered. Later, in a quieter moment as they sat on the cold bench, she asked, "You knew what to do. You studied this." He nodded. "Pharmacy school. Full ride. Until my mom got sick. I dropped out. Never got back in." She was silent a long time. Then asked, "Do you have a phone? An email?" He shook his head. "Just a locker. At St. Augustine's." She nodded slowly. "I'll find you." Malcolm didn't believe her. But she did. A week later, he found a manila envelope on the church bulletin board. Inside was a key, a prepaid phone, a Metro card, and a letter. Malcolm, you saved my life. And not just with that pill. With who you are. I spoke to someone at Columbia. Your file's been reopened. Full scholarship. Housing. Orientation is in 2 weeks. Don't let this be the end. Brooke Landon. 3 years passed. Now Malcolm wore a lab coat. His badge read, M. Hayes Clinical Pharmacology Intern. And the logo beneath it said, Landon Health Sciences. He didn't limp through life anymore. He walked tall. Still quiet. But no longer invisible. One morning, Brooke met him at the elevators. We're launching a scholarship, she said. Named after someone who ran when everyone else stood still. I want you there. He nodded. That night, Malcolm passed by the same bus stop. The rust was still there. So was the crooked sign. But it looked different now. It looked like the start of something remarkable.